Hey beautiful people, welcome to our jollof rice series where I share tips to achieving the best tasting jollof rice every single time. Now, if you're new to my YouTube channel, please take a moment to subscribe to my page and turn on post notification to get notified whenever I post my fail-proof and amazing recipes. Our focus today will be the complete list of the ingredients. I'll be sharing brands that I use and why I use them. Please understand that this is not a sponsored or paid ad. I'm simply sharing my experience, or I'm simply sharing the brands that I use to make my jollof rice recipe. So, on that note, let's get started. Let's talk about the pepper mix. My recipe calls for 0 tomatoes in your jollof rice stew base. One of the reasons why I do not use tomatoes is that I find that it waters down the sauce as opposed to using bell peppers, tatashe, and shombo, which makes for a rather thick and sweet flavor, gives you a sweet flavor profile. Please, if you're on a budget, please stick to the local tatashe and shombo that you find in your regular market. Now let's dive into ratio. I'm a no rule follower, but for the sake of people who would ask questions, I will give you a typical idea of what I do or the ratio that I use. So for my red bell peppers, I typically do 60% of my red bell peppers. 60%. Then I do 5% of my Scotch bonnet peppers. 5% of my Scotch bonnet peppers. Then I do 15% of the local tatashe that you find in the market, tatashe or paprika that you find, or fresh paprika that you find in the market. Then I do shombo. I do 10% of shombo. Now, this might be a little bit controversial. I hear a lot of people say, oh, you need a lot of onion to make your jollof rice. I beg to differ. You need just enough onion in your jollof rice. Too much onion can ruin the taste of your jollof base. I typically use 10% of onion in my stew base. Next up is one of my favorite things to talk about, which is the tomato paste that you use for your jollof rice. You see these two brands, I recommend you start to use them, and I'll tell you why. Now, I like to stress that this is not a paid ad. It's just typically what I use for my jollof base. I just wanted to put that out there yet again. If this is your first time making jollof rice, I recommend you hop on the Gino bandwagon as a beginner, because it lends a sweet note that enhances the flavor of the paprika and bell peppers, and it cooks off its sour taste quickly. It also adds a rich red color to jollof rice. Now, if you've made jollof rice or you're a pro at making jollof rice and don't mind sacrificing the time to get that deep red color that will get everyone buzzing, then Derica is the main event. The downside to Derica is that it takes a longer time to cook off the sour taste as opposed to Gino that doesn't take so much time. I mean, Derica takes about 10 to 15 minutes and Gino takes about 5 to 10 minutes to cook off its sour taste. Now for Derica, what it lacks in time saving, it makes up for in color. And for Gino, what you gain by saving time, it lacks in color. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, I like to do a combination of both. I want it all kind of girl. I want the flavor, I want the color, I want everything. You get it? Anyway, so what's the difference between Derica and Gino? Derica is much more concentrated than Gino and definitely not beginner friendly. Derica is time consuming because it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to cook off the sour taste. That's it. Now, whereas Gino is less concentrated and takes less time to cook off its sour taste. Gino has a sweet flavor profile, which is why I like to use Gino, and I like to use Derica because I want the sweet flavor profile. At the same time, I need the color, that deep red color that Derica brings. So you can use either one of them, but I just typically use two. I just typically use the two, sorry. So that's it. So please, if you're a beginner, please use Gino. It is absolutely beautiful, and will pairs really well with tatashe and the red bell pepper. However, it won't give you that deep red color, but you can manage that by using more shombo in your pepper mix and still achieve the red color. If you're a beginner, it's just better to be confident than sorry. But if you're a pro in jollof rice, then use Derica or just do a mix of both. Another thing I'd like for us to talk about is the vegetable oil that you use to fry your stew base. Popular opinion says use a lot of, or you need a lot of vegetable oil to fry your stew base. While that might be true, however, you do not want to use excess oil and then decant it later. Why would you use oil, season it, and then decant it later? I would say just use about enough oil, so just to avoid decanting your already seasoned oil, which already adds flavor to your jollof rice anyway. So that's it. Just use just enough oil. Do not use excess oil, please, to avoid decanting it or then having oil sit at the base of your jollof rice later. I know that jollof rice is partly steamed and partly fried, but then again, we don't want to have excess oil, because excess oil would also water down the taste of your jollof rice. Let's get real. Now, why do we need butter? We need butter because it gives such a rich buttery flavor to our jollof rice. It leaves a mouthful feel when eating the jollof rice. It also helps give the jollof rice moisture and helps to separate the grains. It gives jollof rice a lush, shiny look. So you just need butter for your jollof rice. For a rich, lush, buttery taste, you need butter with at least 70% fat to make your jollof rice, and I recommend you use unsalted butter. When cooking your jollof rice, you need to consider, when using butter, you need to consider how much seasoning goes into your jollof base. So you need to use unsalted butter in order to stay in control of the amount of salt, and seasoning cube that you use. So I recommend that you use unsalted butter so you can regulate the salt that you add to your jollof mix, just to avoid over salting and things like that. How do you find out how much fat your butter has or contains? You can do that by checking the back of the packaging of the pack. You can use brands like Ambassador, Lore Pack, President, Anchor. Those are some of the ones that I know. However, if you're on a budget, please use margarine. Sima's margarine works great in jollof rice too. So for my jollof rice, I like to the seasoning cube that I like to use is the Knorr beef. Please don't ask me why. It just pairs well with my jollof recipe. It is mild and just sits pretty in the mix. It doesn't overpower the flavor, and it's just there. Please, again, this is not a sponsored ad. These are just things that work for me. It's very important for me to stress that it is not a sponsored ad. So that's it. I like to use Knorr beef. If you come to my kitchen, what you'll find is Knorr beef. I like to use it for jollof rice, and it works pretty well for me. It is no longer news that garlic and ginger are a must use for jollof rice. They are both super aromatic, but for the sake of this video, our focus is on ginger. for my amazing jollof recipe, ginger has an amazing aromatic flavor that it lends to the to my jollof rice recipe. It helps to intensify the smoky flavor. So if you are making smoky jollof rice, you actually do need ginger. But whether you're making it or not, you do need ginger either way. However, I like to stress that ginger pairs really well with pepper. You know, peppers such as white peppers, scotch bonnet peppers, black peppers, they really do pair well with it. Why do I say that? When you take ginger or bite into ginger, it has this spicy note that it leaves, like a tingling spicy note that it gives you. So it really does complement pepper really well. However, in as much as they go really well together, ginger can also make or mar your jollof rice base. So use just enough. You just need to just be very careful of ginger. Use little or just enough amount of ginger. Using too much of ginger would leave your pepper base with a dark, bitter aftertaste that is just there. Even when you mix it with the rice, you will still get that dark after bitter taste, even though it sort of mellows down, but it's still just there. So use ginger, but just use enough so that it doesn't overshadow the pepper mix. Got it? The next thing I'd like to talk about is bay leaf. I would say bay leaf isn't a compulsory thing for my jollof rice recipe. I see a lot of people saying, oh, bay leaf. It isn't compulsory, to be very honest. I mean, jollof rice has a lot of seasoning, or should I say my jollof recipe already has a lot of seasoning, and you typically don't really need bay leaf. Like, I've made my jollof rice with bay leaf, without bay leaf, and it still tastes the same. It's really not a compulsory thing for me. However, if you love bay leaf, you can use bay leaf. But here's a tip when buying bay leaf. The ones that they sell in the market can leave a bitter taste in your jollof rice mix. So I recommend you buy the packed ones and not the locally packed ones or unbranded ones. Buy the branded packed ones and not the unbranded ones. The unbranded the unbranded ones can leave a bitter taste to your jollof mix. I've used it, I've tried it, I've experimented it in different markets, and it's always the same. And if you want to use the ones you find in the market, if that's what you can afford, use one or two, or take out the should I say the leafy part and try to discard the stalk. That's it. One thing you find very common in this recipe is that I make a use of both dried and fresh ingredients. That can be said for the thyme here. If you've never used fresh thyme for your jollof rice, I highly recommend that you do. But if you can't find fresh thyme, or it is too expensive where you are, just stick to dried thyme. I find that dried thyme is super strong and very flavorful, and has a tendency of overshadowing the entire meal. The introduction of fresh thyme, sort of leaves your jollof rice with a different flavor note. It gives it this soft, herby, sweet flavor. It just pairs really well with fresh red bell peppers and tatashe, and it just marries well with the mix. It just marries really well with the mix. So I like to do less dried thyme and more fresh thyme. Again, if you're on a budget and can't find fresh thyme where you are, please stick to dried thyme, but just use just enough, as the dried thymes that we get here are really, or the dried thyme is really, really pungent and strong. It's such a strong flavor that you don't want it to overpower your jollof mix. Other ingredients I use for my jollof rice is curry, which is a regular culprit, but I like to use a combination of cayenne pepper, chili pepper, and one of my absolute favorites that I can never do without, paprika and smoked paprika. If you can't find smoked paprika, that's fine. Just use plain paprika, and that's it. Why do I use this combination of cayenne pepper, chili peppers, and paprika? Paprika because of red bell pepper. I want to enhance the flavor of the red bell pepper. I want to intensify the color. I want to intensify the flavor of the red bell peppers. And I also, for the cayenne and chili pepper, I like to intensify the shombo flavor. I use just enough of these spices for every 3 cups that I use. For every 3 cups of rice that I cook, I use 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of regular paprika. I use 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper or less, 1 teaspoon or half teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I use a 1/4 teaspoon of chili pepper because I already have scotch bonnet peppers in there anyway. So that's the sort of mumbo jumbo that I do with these dry spices. And last but not least, something that ties or brings it all together: salt. You cannot go wrong with salt. I sometimes don't add salt to my stew base. I wait till I mix everything together before I season with salt, because I am also trying to avoid over salting my meal. So I like to, wait till everything is all mixed together before I add salt. But I did something different in this recipe. So when I am showing you the process, I will show you that. And that's it. That's it for the ingredient list for today. I'm sorry that I talked too much, but it was absolutely necessary. I needed, like I said, we're going to do a deep dive of the ingredients, so please bear with me, and I hope that you found this really interesting, insightful, and entertaining, if I do say so. But then again, I hope that you learned 1 or 2 things from this video that you can implement in your everyday jollof making. I hope you like it. If you do, please leave me a comment. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I will be sure to respond to all of your amazing questions. And that's it. If you also have tips and tricks that you can share with every other person, please leave them in the comment section, or you can send me a DM on my Instagram, which is Kitchen Freak Girl. And like I said, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so by clicking the subscribe button. Join me here for the part 2 of the jollof rice series. I hope that you're enjoying it so far. So until next time, I love you guys. Munches. See you soon.